Hi, this is Steph with Stellar Game Assets. Today we're going to make some custom wearables for the Modular Character System. First, you want to make sure you have a base character imported into your Unity project because that will give you access to the FBX file that contains the unclothed character body. To get to it, go to Content, Characters, the folder for your base character, Art, Mesh. There may be a couple of FBX files in the folder, but you want the one that contains base in the name. Import that FBX into your modeling software of choice. I'm using Blender. To make it easier to work with, delete all of the meshes except the base body parts and at least one face mesh. Now you have a base body to start working with. Let's make an attachment first. I'm going to show you how to do this by using Mixamo. Now before I get any angry comments, I'm just doing this to expedite the process so you can see how it works. I'm not advocating for or making claims about the legalities behind using parts from Mixamo this way. You'll of course be using your own parts. I'm picking a model that has a sword so we can use it to demonstrate an attachment and a piece of clothing. Let's do the attachment first. I've downloaded and imported the model into my project. You'll have your own, or you can create it using the base as a reference. But however you get there, we now have a sword we're going to modify to work with the modular character. This won't take much, just some scaling and transform work. I'll apply all of the transforms with scale data and then export it to my project. Before we make the sword into a wearable though, we're going to make a texture and material for it. Those also need to be in the project. Just save them in a place that makes sense for you. I've already imported mine and created a material. Now we're ready to make a wearable out of our sword. Because attachments are instantiated according to our specified transforms, the first thing you'll want to do is drag your base character into a scene. You can use either one of the saved prefabs, your own prefab, or even just the base prefab. Now drag your sword into the scene and parent it to the hand bone you want your character to equip it to. You can jump to the different hand bones using the component on the character prefab. I've already captured the transforms I need, so I'll just paste them into the component. Leave that aside for a bit and we'll now make the asset for the sword. Go to or create a folder for the wearable asset. I always organize mine by slot, but you just do you. Then right-click, go to Create, then Modular Character System, then Wearables, then Attachments. Name the new asset and give it a name in the asset file. Supply it with an icon if you want. Because I'm going to test these in the demo scene, I also need an icon, but I didn't make one, so I'm just going to use whatever I have. Now drag your mesh and material into the appropriate fields. Attachments need transform data. Because we set ours up in advance, we can lock the inspector and select our sword. Then we just click the button here and it's automatically updated. Now add the wearable asset you just created to the database for your character by dragging and dropping it in. That's it. If I run the demo scene now, I should be able to equip the sword I just added. Let's give it a try. It doesn't matter which demo scene you run, they all use the same database. Not sure why I picked a white icon. It all works great! Next, let's make a new chest piece of clothing for our character. This is going to be a little more complicated because it needs to be weighted to the character rig and it needs to contain the blend shapes for body morphs. If you don't plan on adjusting the character's body this way, you can ignore that step. I think this chest piece is kind of badass, so I'm going to separate it out and mold it to the base character. Depending on the resolution of the mesh, I'll either manipulate the vertices in edit mode or use the sculpting tools or both. This chest is pretty low poly, so I can get a good basic shape just in edit mode. I have a decent fit now, but if I just use the piece like this, the character won't have any arms or chest or waist anymore. That's because of the way the base characters are split up. I need to duplicate the upper body and merge it with this chest piece, so when the unclothed upper body is replaced with this chest, there's still a body there. At this point, you can delete any hidden geometry if you want to make things more efficient. I'm not going to bother. Before I join it to the new chest piece, I'm going to make the blend shapes. You could do this after joining because the blend shapes will be transferred over and then you can edit the blend shapes that are already there, but I like doing it separately first. So let's hide the original upper body and just keep the duplicate visible. I'm going to activate the shape keys on the duplicate so I can see what they look like while I'm working with the chest. Then I'll copy the first blend shape name directly and create a new one on our chest piece with the same name. Now I'll edit the chest piece so it fits around the shape key we're showing on the upper body. Repeat this for all of the body morphs. There aren't actually that many. After you're done, join the duplicated upper body to the new chest piece and rename it. Now it's time for rigging. Because this isn't a very complicated chest piece, you can probably get decent results just by transferring the weights from the upper body. How you do this is up to you, but the most important thing is that visible seams where the wrist joins the hand, where the neck joins the head, and where the waist joins the lower body are the same. Otherwise, when the bones deform the mesh, you're gonna get some gaps or odd mismatching. Spend some time making sure you have this done well. I've even resorted to editing each individual vert weight in edit mode to make sure they match. But when you transfer the weights from the mesh directly, you're usually gonna get a decent result because the vertices are going to be in the same position on both meshes. With all that done, we can export the new chest into our project. Make sure it's parented to the rig and just export the new piece and the rig. You don't need all of the other meshes. Now we're just going to follow the same process we did for the sword. Create a new texture and a material for your new mesh and save them in a place that makes sense. I've already done this. Then right-click, go to Create, then Modular Character System, then Wearables, then Clothing this time. Name the new asset, give it a name in the asset file, and supply an icon if you want. Again, I'm going to test these in the demo scene, so I need an icon, but I didn't make one, and I'll just use whatever. For rigged parts, it's important to populate the linked mesh field with just the mesh, not the entire FBX containing the armature. When a wearable uses the body material, you need to specify the array indices for each material. You can check this by dragging your mesh into the scene and then checking its inspector material array. Update those indices in the wearable asset field. Make sure you select the right slot for your wearable as well. Now let's add it to the database and run the scene. As you can see, it looks fabulous. We can adjust all of the morphs and see how they work together, and we can change our skin tone. process is going to be similar for any other wearable you create. Some are easier, some are more complicated. On my website, there's a dedicated tutorial to this process, and you can get a better idea of the detail involved behind each wearable. So if you want a bit more information, you can visit that. I'll put the link in the description below. And as always, get in touch with me if you have any questions or comments. Thanks again, everyone. Bye-bye. Tutorial. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to stay tuned for further tutorials on functionality within the Modular Character System, updates on my characters, and general Unity tips and tricks. If you need any help with any of the stuff we talked about, please feel free to reach out at steph@stellargameassets.com or check out the website at www.stellargameassets.com. Thanks. Bye-bye.